Well, folks, there's really no way of sugarcoating this. Friday sucked. It flat out sucked. Each day, I wake up now more and more saddened by the state of WWE. This has been a truly, truly rocky year, compounded by the fact that the company continues to release dozens and dozens of very, very talented superstars, and that's what happened last night. Even when you think they can't go any further, they can't possibly cut any deeper, they let go another 13 superstars. And they did it during the show last night. What? Yeah, that's right. There was an actual show last night. So I guess, we kind of have to talk about that as well, because if I'm being honest, it felt like I was watching an episode of Raw instead of SmackDown. More rematches, championship contenders matches, bad booking. It wasn't all bad. It wasn't all bad. In fact, I would go as far as to call it a good episode of Raw, but it did not in any way, shape, or form live up to the standards that we have become accustomed to on Friday night. Before we get any further, click the button, subscribe. Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel, so much good stuff on there. Make sure to give us the thumbs up on all those videos and everything. Let's not waste a second further. I'm Rick Ucchino. Here is the good, the bad, and the ugly of this week's Friday Night SmackDown, and more.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
The good, alright, so I've got a lot to say today, so I'll try to sum up really, really quickly on the good. I cannot wait for Edge and Seth Rollins to beat the hell out of each other at SummerSlam. When WWE does things right, there's no beating them. No one does great better than WWE. The build so far to this match has been damn near perfect. These two have big time history with one another, dating back to when Rollins literally threatened to kill the man in 2014. I love the fact that Edge keeps calling back to that and saying now that Rollins regrets not pulling the trigger because it's having real life effects on him to this day. Edge tossing him out of the 2020 and 2021 Royal Rumble. We saw Rollins last night try to get into Edge's head, and then Edge turn around and throw it right back into his face, baiting him into accepting his challenge at SummerSlam by calling him Edge Light. I thought that was really, really good. This whole build has been great stuff. I give a lot of credit to both Edge and Seth Rollins. This is going to be one of the matches of the night in a couple of weeks. Moving on now, Big E. That man is a national treasure and must be protected at all costs. Dude was on screen for 10 seconds and stole the show. The Street Profits are back. I wish I could have enjoyed their match a bit more. I'll get to why in a minute. But regardless, SmackDown is much better with them on it. Always love seeing Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. Finn Balor may not be falling down the card as I had previously anticipated. After Cena stole his opportunity against Roman Reigns at SummerSlam last week, Balor made quick work of Baron Corbin in the main event of SmackDown. Instead, if he has to go through John Cena to get to Roman Reigns, then so be it. The night then ended with the entire bloodline having to beat down Balor. Believe it or not, Balor fans, this is a really, really good thing. Finn may not be getting the shot at SummerSlam, but the foundation is now there for him to be next up after Cena gets his shot, which was my big question heading into all of this. Who's got next after the part-timers come and go? It appears we have our answer now. Once Reigns is done with Cena, Finn Balor awaits. Moving on to the bad real quick, let's talk about championship contenders matches. They suck. For the younger crowd out there, let me tell you how it used to happen, right? You used to have two young, hungry up-and-comers, both being built very strongly, both winning match after match, both wanting to claim a shot at whether it be the Intercontinental Championship or the Women's title or the WWE Championship. Those two would both have rightful stake to having that opportunity, and then you know what would happen? They would face each other for the right to challenge the champion, because back in the day, you used to protect the champion at all costs. Those, by the way, were called number one contenders matches. Now, we get these dumbass championship contenders matches where the potential contender has to beat the champion for the possibility of getting another shot at the champion.
What?
We saw multiple matches like this on Raw the past couple of weeks. Heck, Nikki ASH and Charlotte, both matches great, but now have fought each other twice back-to-back ahead of their match with each other again at SummerSlam. The only difference is Rhea Ripley is going to be involved. 2 weeks ago, we saw Shinsuke Nakamura pin Apollo Crews, and then he challenged him again this Friday for the opportunity at an opportunity. The way Pat McAfee described it on commentary, it wouldn't even have been a guarantee had he pinned Apollo Crews that he would get another opportunity at Apollo Crews. What? How is this ideal booking at all for your champion? Because either you beat all of your contenders and never defend your championship, or then you have to lose and then defend. Like, again, back in the day, man, like, you used to protect your champions. They used to be booked incredibly, incredibly strong. That way, when they lost, it was a big deal. Now, a Shinsuke Nakamura, after a DQ finish, probably beats Apollo Crews next week, and then he beats Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental Championship. Is it really that big of a deal? No! Whereas Roman Reigns, if Roman Reigns, when he finally loses that championship, that is going to be a really big deal because he looks unstoppable. He has held that title for over a year now and has been booked incredibly, incredibly strong. Last night, Bianca Belair, yeah, she had a really, really good match with Zelina Vega for what I saw. Again, we'll get to why my attention was elsewhere. From what I saw, that was a really, really good match. But why is Zelina Vega trying to earn her way to a championship opportunity by fighting the champion when she could be taking on people like Liv Morgan, when she could be taking on people like Toni Storm, like Mia Yim, like Naomi, two people who are supposedly on the SmackDown roster but we haven't seen show up on SmackDown yet. We could see Zelina Vega versus Carmella. There are literally a half a dozen women that we could get on the show and featured and fighting each other and earning an opportunity at Bianca Belair after she is done with Sasha Banks, or vice versa. We could be building these women up. We could have them on the show. Instead, it's now been 3 weeks since we've seen Liv Morgan after she was getting the biggest pops of the night at Money in the Bank. It does not make any sense. When you constantly have superstars battling each other week in and week out, all of a sudden you don't care so much that they're fighting at a pay-per-view. Case in point, have you noticed the 3 builds, right, that they really seem to care about? Roman Reigns and John Cena, Edge and Seth Rollins, and now Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks? We're not seeing those challengers and champions getting too physical with one another, are we? In fact, until the brief contract signing exchange last week, we haven't even seen Roman Reigns and John Cena on the same screen at the same time. Edge and Seth Rollins? Yeah, a little fisticuffs here or there, but they're not being booked in tag matches with one another. They're not fighting every week. They're not having a championships contender. I know neither one of them are champions, but you get my point. They're not fighting each other. Even after Sasha Banks attacked Bianca Belair last week, they did really, really smart this week by keeping them separate from one another on this week's episode. They're not doing that with Nikki ASH and Charlotte on Raw. They're damn sure not doing it with the Usos and the Mysterios on SmackDown. Every single week it's some incarnation of Rey Mysterio or Dominic versus Jay and Jimmy. We've been seeing that for weeks. Apollo Crews, by the way, they're doing it now with Shinsuke Nakamura. They just literally did it with Big E months ago. Literal months of Big E and Apollo Crews in some way, shape, or form. It takes all of the luster off of the feuds. WWE knows how to book correctly, but for some reason, when it comes to matches lower down on the card, they just don't want to do it. They don't seem to want to build up anybody. Championship contenders matches are dumb. They don't work for the champion at all, and you could have other challengers fighting each other. Guys like Cesaro, guys like Kevin Owens, guys like Sami Zayn, they could have been on the show fighting Shinsuke Nakamura for an opportunity at the Intercontinental Championship instead of Nakamura having to beat the champion just to get an opportunity to beat the champion. It ain't good. Doesn't make any sense. And finally, the ugly this week. You already know by now, WWE gutting their roster once again by releasing 13 more NXT superstars. Some truly shocking names among them: Bronson Reed, Bobby Fish, Mercedes Martinez, Tony Atlas, Tyler Rust, Ari Sterling, and more. And at the time of this recording, it's being reported that even more cuts are on the way, so I could be way behind at this point. I have gone on ad nauseum this year about how pointless and insane these releases are, and these are no different. Bronson Reed, for crying out loud, dude was your North American champion just 2 months ago. He was being looked at for a main roster run and then let go. Bobby Fish, Part of one of the greatest factions in NXT history, one of the greatest performers in NXT history, gone. Mercedes Martinez, that is just the type of locker room leader you need for a roster full of young and talented women, and she's a badass in her own right, by the way, gone. Now, PW Insider is reporting that these cuts are part of a rebranding for NXT to focus on younger talent, which I am calling bullshit on that one. Only a couple of these people are what I would consider to be older. Tony Atlas is a star. He's 26. Tyler Rust literally debuted in Diamond Mine weeks ago. If Bronson Reed at age 32 is considered old and not qualified among the younger talent to invest in moving forward, there's a lot of other people I'm concerned for right now. I cannot be the only one worried for guys like Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and Kyle O'Reilly, the top of the NXT mainstays. They live and die with this brand. Oh, by the way, yeah, I left off guys like Adam Cole and Pete Dunne because their contracts are already up. And if you're watching all this and you're them, why on God's green earth would you agree to re-up with WWE right now? They may still. There may be a pretty big bag at the end of the rainbow, especially for a guy like Adam Cole. But it's got to make you think twice. The other thing that really bothers me here is, once again, I'm going to go back to that perception problem that I spoke about earlier in the week. WWE started releasing people on a Friday night, knowing full well that this news would likely leak right before, during, or right after SmackDown. And they didn't care. They did it anyway. A good portion of your audience was tuned out for the entire second hour of SmackDown because of more budget cut bullshit. The bottom line is, WWE only cares about their bottom line. That is the only thing that makes sense to me. Out of all of this, this is not a company that's hurting for cash. They don't need to do this, but they continue to cut. No matter what it does to the superstars themselves, the locker room morale, or their standing with the fans. And it just continues to be baffling. That is our video this time around. Make sure to give us the old thumbs up there. Make sure to give us a follow as well, or a subscribe wherever you're watching this. We really, really appreciate all of your support. And make sure to tune back in to the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel for more content like this, plus exclusive interviews and so much more.